and how are you? Yeah, I hope that you have had a good week. And yeah, and we're going to start off with who was this that we talked about last time? This is baby Moses. Did he stay a baby? Mm-mm. God protected him. God had a plan for him. And he was actually raised in the Pharaoh, the king's home. And then he went to another country and he was out watching the sheep one day. And what did he see? A bush that was burning. But it wasn't burning up, it was just burning. And it even talked to Moses. Wow. And it said it was God who was talking to him out of that bush. And God said, I am sending you to the king of Egypt. Go, bring my people, the Israelites, out of Egypt. Wow. Bring my people out of the country of Egypt? That sounds like a really big, a big job. In fact, it sounds like it would take a miracle. What's a miracle? Do you know? Well, a miracle is something that it's an unusual or a wonderful event that is caused by the power of who runs the whole universe? God, right. And so that's a miracle. Well, let's see in the book of Exodus, which means leaving, chapter 11, chapter 12, sorry. Verse 31, it says, Okay, now a lot of miracles had been done in Moses' life. And he had just recently seen some too. How God had God just made Pharaoh's mouth kind of go. Other people could do some of them, but they couldn't do all of them. Well, during the night, the king called for Moses and Aaron, and he said, Get up and leave my people. You and your people may do as you have asked. Go, worship the Lord. Oh, wow. What had happened? That the king would have changed his mind when Moses had been asking, let my people go, let my people go. And Pharaoh would say yes, and then he'd say no. Well, what had happened? Well, God had given Moses some words to say to the king. And what made the difference this time? Well, it was because his own son had died. His own son. And he said, every Egyptian family, they're all crying. Moses, get out of here and take these people with you. Wow. There were a lot of people that actually they were ready to leave because Moses had said, get ready and do this and this and this. And they had done that. And so they had some food ready to go with them. They had other things that were prepared, and they were ready to go. And it was midnight when the king called Moses and Aaron and said, "Get up and leave! Get out of here!" Well, there were a lot of people. It wasn't just a small family that was going to leave. There were over 600,000 men. Most of those were married, and most of them had families. So, if you take that every family might have had two, and they probably had more than that, that would be like saying to this entire city of Munich, "Get up, get up, get up, leave, we've got to go right now." Wow. They did. They got up, they left, and, they did do that. Let's see what it says now. Well, they were traveling, and they were, going where God was leading Moses, who was leading the people, and they were going where God wanted them to go. It says in Exodus chapter 14, verse 5, we're going to read some things and then have just a picture or two. Yeah. The king of Egypt was told that the people of Israel had already left. Then the king changed his mind about them. What have we done? These people had been working for them. They had been slaves for them. And they were, when they got upset, they just said, "You've got to work more and more and more and more." And it was not an easy time for the people of Israel. But it says here that when they realized, we don't have any workers, how are we going to get our work done? That the king and his officers changed their mind about them, and they said, "What have we done? We have let the people of Israel leave. We've lost our slaves." So the king prepared his war chariot, and he took his army with him. And I'm reading from the International Children's Bible, right? So the king took 600 of his best chariots, and he also took all the other chariots of Egypt, and every chariot had an officer in it. That was somebody who was leading, who could, do what he wanted. And so the Lord made the king of Egypt stubborn. So the king chased the Israelites who were leaving, victoriously. Yeah, we're out. The king of Egypt came with his horses, his chariot drivers, and his army. And they chased the Israelites. They caught up with them when they were camped by the Red Sea. Well, who's their leader? Who's the leader? Moses, right? Well, the Israelites saw the king and his army coming after them, and they were frightened, and they cried to the Lord for help. They said to Moses, "What have you done to us? Why did you bring us to Egypt to die in this desert? There are plenty of graves for us in Egypt. We told you in Egypt, 'Let us alone. Let us stay and serve the Egyptians.' Now we're going to die in the desert." But Moses answered, Don't be afraid. Stand still and see the Lord save you today. You will never see these Egyptians again after today. You will only need to remain calm. The Lord is with you, and he will fight for you. How is the Lord going to fight for them? Then the Lord said to Moses, "Why are you crying out to me? Command the people of Israel to start moving. Raise your walking stick and hold it over the sea." This was his walking stick. And he was told to raise it over the sea. What's going to happen? Let's see. The sea will split, and then the people can cross the sea on dry land. Water here, water here. Wow. I have made the Egyptians stubborn so that they will chase you. They will chase you, Israelites. But I will be honored when I defeat the king and all of his chariot drivers and chariots. I will defeat the king, his chariot drivers and his chariots. Then Egypt will know that I am the Lord. Well, the angel of God usually traveled in front of the Israel's army, but now the angel moved behind them. They're going, and the angels are coming behind them. Wow. And it says, the angel of God moved behind them. Also, the pillar of cloud moved from in front of the people and stood behind them. This pillar of cloud had been guiding them all day. And wow, they have been guided, and now they're on their own to go on. But this pillar of cloud, this huge, huge, huge cloud is behind them. The angel of God moved behind them. Also, the pillar of cloud moved from in front of them and stood behind them. So the cloud came between the Egyptians and the people. The cloud made it dark for the Egyptians. They couldn't see. It was dark. It was nighttime. It was dark. But it gave light to the Israelites. So the cloud kept the two armies apart all night. So the ones in the dark couldn't keep coming, and the ones in front with the light could keep on going. Moses held his hand over the sea all that night. The Lord drove back the sea with a strong wind, and he made the sea become dry ground. The water was split here and here. And the Israelites went through the sea on dry ground with a wall of water on each side. Then all the king's horses, chariots, and chariot drivers followed them into the sea. Between 2 o'clock and 6 o'clock in the morning, the Lord looked down from the pillar of cloud and fire at the Egyptian army. He made them panic. He kept the wheels of the chariots from turning. They made it hard to drive the chariots. The Egyptians shouted, "Let's get away from the Israelites. The Lord is fighting for them and against us Egyptians." Then the Lord told Moses, "Hold your hand over the sea." Then the waters will come back over the Egyptians, their chariots and their chariot drivers. So Moses raised his hand over the sea, and at dawn, when the sun was coming up, the water became deep again. The Egyptians were trying to run from it, but the Lord swept them away into the sea. They all drowned. The water became deep again. It covered the chariots and the chariot drivers. So all the king's army that had followed the Israelites into the sea were covered. Not one of them survived. But the people of Israel crossed on dry ground. There was a wall of water on their right and on their left. So that day the Lord saved the Israelites from the Egyptians. And the Israelites saw the Egyptians lying dead on the seashore. And when the people of Israel saw the great power that the Lord had used against the Egyptians, they feared the Lord. Oh, and they trusted in the Lord and in his servant Moses. Well, originally, Pharaoh wasn't going to go after Moses. But it had affected him. His own son had died. Well, the Israelites, they had complained, but God was in control, and God is in control. God worked miracles. What is a miracle? Can you tell me what a miracle might be? Can you think what a miracle might be? A miracle. That's what this was, really. A miracle, and God does still do miracles. A miracle is an unusual, something that doesn't happen all the time, or a wonderful event that is believed to be by the power of God. Man could not have split this water apart. Man couldn't have kept it apart. Man couldn't have brought it back together. But God did. God did many other miracles and still does many miracles. Well, so they're now through the Red Sea, and that's the name of the place that they walked through in the nighttime. And they are there on the other side. Now, this other side is in what is known as the Promised Land. God got them there. It was a land he had promised them, and he wanted them there. And we see his protection, we see his love, we see God's care. God also did something else there that we have talked about before. And where they were when they were on the other side of the Red Sea is a place where what had happened? The burning bush, and God said, "You will come back here. Yes, you will be back," and that he would do some wonders. And God had brought him back to that same area where he had gotten that. And what God did there is God spoke all these words. "I am the Lord your God. I brought you out of the land of Egypt where you were slaves." And this is Exodus chapter 20. And then he starts off and he says, let's see if we can, how many of these we can remember. He says, what? No other gods but me. I need to be first. God needs to be first. And then he says, love me more than anything else. Then he says, don't make anything more important than God. Don't bow down to any of these idols and things that are made, that people so often were worshiping then. He says, don't do that. Don't bow down to them. And then he says, always say my name with love and respect. Don't, but with love and respect. Talk about God. Then he says, honor the Lord by resting on that seventh day. You can work for 6 days, but take that seventh day, that Sunday, to rest. Not that you're going to sleep all day, because you can also go to church and worship God, but just don't do all those normal activities, all those busy work things that you normally do. And then he says, love and respect your mom and dad. And that's kind of like, crown them like they're the king and queen, and you're going to do what they tell you to do. Love and respect your parents. Don't hurt others. Don't kill others. Talking to husbands and wives, he says, be faithful to each other. Be faithful. Care for each other. Be there for each other. Don't take anything that's not yours. Don't take even cookies out of the cookie jar if you don't have that permission. Don't do it. Watch what comes out of your mouth. Always tell the truth. Don't lie. And be happy with what you have. God, number one, and me, everything, thinking everything has to just circle around me. I'm so important. Keep God first. And what you have isn't so important when you think about this. Don't think, I've got to have it, I've got to have it, I've got to have it. Keep God number one. Be happy with what you have. Well, these 10 commandments were given to Moses, printed by the hand of God. And that was where God had said, you will come back. You will worship me here. And he did. He did. And what a mighty God we have. And there's nothing that he can't do. Let's sing that song. My God is so big. My God is so big, so strong and so mighty. There's nothing that he cannot do. My God is so big, so strong and so mighty. There's nothing that he cannot do. The mountains are his, the valleys are his, the stars are his handiwork too. My God is so big, so strong and so mighty, there's nothing that he cannot do for you and 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 me and you. What a great God we have. Next week, we will meet again, and we will, what's the next holiday coming? Christmas, yes. And before Christmas, we have what we call Advent. And so next week we are going to start Advent lessons. So I pray that you have a great week, that you remember God loves you, God cares for you, God does give you rules that you should follow. He also gives you help and strength. And just like he told Moses, you don't need to be afraid. I am with you. Don't be afraid. And when you think, oh no, then stop. And even in your heart and in your head, you can pray, God, I need you. I need your help. Please be with me. Help me not be afraid. Don't be afraid. God is with you. He loves you. He cares for you. And He has a wonderful time and place for you. Have a great week. See you next week. Bye-bye.